So last night's episode really has torn a lot of fans apart. Everyone's divided on this. Actually, I guess before I jump in and discuss my thoughts on this, I do want to warn you guys for spoilers for episode 3 of Game of Thrones season 8. Major spoilers because I'm going to be talking about very specific, very massive events that happened throughout. But like I said, last night's episode has torn a lot of fans. I should start off with saying that I did like last night's episode because I've been getting quite a bit of hate in my review video because of how I felt about the Night King's exit. And honestly, I thought I was the only one that felt this. I thought it was a very unpopular opinion, and I knew that I would be getting some hate just for saying that. And I thought the hate was getting pretty bad. I was like, well, maybe I didn't see something right. Maybe I should rewatch the episode. But, I slept on it and I thought about it a bit more, and I came to the conclusion that no, that shit was dumb. They completely filled the Night King and the White Walker storyline. An hour or two goes by afterwards, I'm talking with my brother about it, and I realize actually there's a lot of the fan base that is split, almost 50-50 on this, maybe even more than that. I feel like there's more hate out there for what they did with the Night King than there is good. I mean, there is just so much hate out there right now for the way they handled the Night King, and I do think it's justified. This is something we've been building up from the beginning of the series. Before I get into what I wanted to happen and what I think we should have got, I do just want to clarify also that I absolutely loved the battle in last night's episode. I don't have really any issues with it. I mean, yeah, I can nitpick here and there. Yes, it was too dark. The fog was annoying after a little bit, but I was willing to forgive a lot of that. I could have overlooked all of that if the ending to it was right. You know what I mean? I kept thinking that we were building and building to something, and we essentially did, but it was just extremely underwhelming. Game of Thrones actually messed something up. Isn't that crazy? I know they've messed up stuff before, but this is big. Like, this is a very crucial storyline that connects to the beginning of the series. Like, this is a major screw up on their part. So as much as last night's battle was epic, it's really hard to rewatch because of just where it goes, because you know what happens with the Night King at the end. It's hard to really care about all the White Walker stuff now, I think. It doesn't necessarily take away from moments like Hardhome or the mystery of the White Walkers throughout the entire series, because I think the ride to this moment was a lot of fun, but there is also a part of me that thinks, it was all for nothing. All the stuff with Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised, it was all for nothing. It really was. And yeah, I'm going to say it. I really hated what the showrunners did with the Night King. So this is what I wanted to happen. This might not be exactly what you wanted, but considering what we got in last night's episode, if the Night King was set to die in episode 3 like he did, I would have added like 10 minutes, 20 minutes of just more footage in between a certain scene, which I'll explain in a second. Overall, I wanted them to lose this fight, and I wanted the Night King to actually get to King's Landing, but just sticking with what we got, like Arya killed the Night King, this is how I think things should have changed. Now, I don't have the images, obviously, or the animation skills to show you guys on screen, but I'm going to try my best to explain this to you. Now, I think where things should have been different was between the moment that Jon was fighting, or I guess attempting to fight Viserion, around there also with Theon's death, and where Arya actually came in to save the day. All of the events of the war, from the death of the Dothraki, the massacre in Winterfell, to the dragon battle above Winterfell, to Dany's Dracarys moment in which the Night King smiled because he was just undefeatable. Even the scene where Jon was running up to the Night King and he rose the dead, which forced him back, causing also all the dead Starks to come back in the crypts. All of that I thought was perfect. Honestly, I loved all of it, but it's right after Theon's death. It's around that point where I think they should have inserted like an additional 10 to 20 minutes of a confrontation between Jon and the Night King, where Jon realizes he just needs to get away from Viserion. He can't beat him, so he gets around. Some may argue, well, that was the point of that scene, that he couldn't get to Bran. Well, I mean, they could have wrote that differently, right? They didn't have to have Viserion doing that. Jon could have entered the God's Wood and just discovered Theon dead by the hand of the Night King, in which he yells like, no, or something not as corny or cringy. The White Walkers then come at Jon to kill him, maybe actually serving a purpose in the episode. But then the Night King's like, no, or maybe he speaks or something like that for the very first time because he smiled, like he shows emotion. I wanted to hear him actually talk. That's what I wanted from him. And maybe the reason why he says no and tells the White Walkers to not go after Jon is because he wants to personally deal with him because of this connection they've had since Hardhome, because last night's episode just seemingly forgot about all of it. Then at this moment, we would get this epic fight between the Night King and Jon Snow. There could be like literally just no music. just the sound of swords clashing. The Night King is beating Jon down really bad, maybe not with his sword because obviously you don't want Jon to shatter or anything like that, but he's just really tiring Jon out. Jon's like on the ground eventually, and Jon knows he can't win, because he's fighting the Night King. The White Walkers are surrounding him and won't let him escape. Once the Night King defeats Jon and say he's beaten in a way where he just can't get up, he's on the ground, the Night King refuses to finish Jon off here and maybe just reveals his true intentions and what he wanted. There had to have been something there, right? Just something there that we all couldn't have thought of or was thinking of that made it all worthwhile. And he goes to execute this plan. He wants to kill the three-eyed raven to wipe the world of its memory, then kill Jon, who is Azor Ahai, or apparently supposed to be Azor Ahai. But first, the Night King is going to make Jon watch. And so Jon, not being able to do anything because the White Walkers have him trapped on the ground, he's screaming, not wanting the Night King to kill his brother. And then that's when the Arya scene comes into play and saves the day. At first, we think that the Night King actually killed Arya, but then Arya does the dagger trick and then boom, kills the Night King. Boom. They all shatter, which means Jon, who was beaten and defeated on the ground, who was held there by the White Walkers, is now freed, because obviously they shattered as well. The Stark children won. This would make it so Jon, Arya, and Bran were all involved in the ending to the threat beyond the wall. And this is just an ending created by me, some guy. Why didn't the showrunners understand that we needed something more between Jon and the Night King? There was a reason he kept eyeing Jon, right? There had to have been a reason that he was doing that since season 5. At least I thought so. It was there from Hardhome, like I said, to Beyond the Wall. There was just supposed to be this connection. It was like the Night King knew that Jon was Azor Ahai, or the prince that was promised. But what this episode did was ignore everything, and it just killed him off so randomly. Now, would I prefer the Night King to actually make it to King's Landing? Yeah, I would have preferred that. I would have preferred just something there. I don't want him on the throne. That makes no sense because he doesn't want the throne, but I would have loved to have the Night King in the throne room. Just something. I don't know. I was expecting something like that to happen. Like, the threat beyond the wall only made it to Winterfell. Like, really? No one in Dorne or King's Landing had anything to worry about. The Night King's story is laughable. I've seen some people say that Cersei is the real villain of the series, and maybe she is. Maybe you can make an argument for that, but that also goes against everything they've ever said about the show, which, I mean, to quote Jon, I guess I'm paraphrasing Jon here, this is the only fight that counts. This was the whole point of season 7. It was to get everyone in the 7 kingdoms to realize how big of a threat the White Walkers were and that they are actually real. And it's just like that it was dealt with. I mean, I guess it really wasn't that big of a threat after all. I just wish we would have gotten more Jon and Night King scenes. Honestly, I wish there was just something more personal there that would have happened between both of them. I wanted more lore explained. That's a big one. More details to emerge about the Night King. But the show just refuses to get into that, and it's very frustrating. If you want lore, you might as well just read the books, right? If you want to know about what makes this world so special, just read the books. It's as simple as that. It's annoying. Now, am I okay with Arya killing the Night King? Yes. But if and only if the scenario I suggested played out, where Jon and the Night King actually had a battle in the Godswood. But even with that, I will admit it does go against everything we've ever learned about the Long Night and the destruction or the defeat of the White Walkers, doesn't it? Azor Ahai reincarnated or whatever, the prince that was promised, this was something that fueled the series' endgame. And I mean, it fueled the entire series right from the beginning, right from the opening scene. The prince that was promised was supposed to be someone that would defeat the army of the dead and end the Long Night. Okay, fine. Maybe that's Arya. She did that, but that also could have been Tyrion, or Jaime, or Brienne, or Podrick. Any of them could have stabbed the Night King and it would have related to them too. Literally in the prophecy, it's said that this prince or princess that was promised will be born amidst salt and smoke beneath a bleeding star. This hero will also wake dragons from stone, which none of that actually relates to Arya at all. Literally none of it. There's also a part that reads, his is a song of ice and fire. Again, I won't go over the translation of the text because of the pronouns used or whatnot. I'm sure you guys all know that, but how does this relate to Arya at all? It just doesn't. It's like the showrunners just chose to not care about any of it. They said in a behind the scenes video that they knew it was going to be Arya a few seasons ago, which is a very, very odd statement to make. I honestly just want to call bullshit on that. But also, wasn't the resurrection of Jon Snow and him becoming king of the North and the reveal that he's actually a Targaryen, didn't any of that mean that he was going to defeat the Night King and be Azor Ahai reincarnated? This is where the subverting your expectation thing comes into play, and I'm hoping that that's not what they tried to do here. Like, it's okay if the Night King dies by the hands of Jon Snow. It's okay if that happens. Yes, we were expecting that, but like I said, that's okay. Some fan service is okay. So yeah, overall, I don't really know how to feel about it. Well, I guess I'm pretty sure how I feel about it. I hate it, to be honest. That's what I keep coming back to. I can accept Arya killing the Night King, that's fine. But really, if and only if we got the fight scene between the Night King and Jon Snow, I wanted something more from the Night King, and I wanted some of this to matter. I wanted this build-up between Jon and the Night King to matter, and we didn't get any of that. We needed way more there. The Night King's story needed to matter much more than it did, and I'm just pissed that it meant shit to the showrunners because they ended it this fast, and it obviously doesn't really matter to them. I mean, Azor Ahai meant nothing. The prince that was promised meant nothing. Cersei didn't even need to help because they took care of this threat. Yes, they were drowning in walkers, fine, but still, if all it took was for them to go after the Night King, why the hell didn't everyone just really focus on that? I don't know, I'm let down. They actually messed up the White Walker story, and I'm hoping the ending to the series isn't messed up either now. It really all comes back to, I think they're rushing the shit out of this series. I hate it so much. I don't know why they're doing it. They should have made season 7 and 8 10 episodes each, honestly. Then you wouldn't have had the complaints that you do now, because this show is just so rushed. Like, you know they had to kill the Night King in episode 3 because they need to get everyone to King's Landing in time, because there's only 3 episodes left, right? That was the logic behind it. Well, I have an easy fix. Add more episodes. Anyways, in my opinion, they filled the Night King. I imagine this video is going to be pretty divided. I feel like a lot of people are going to be either supporting me or just really hating on me, and that's fine. You can all have your own opinions, but I'm just frustrated. I was really looking forward to this ending, and they just did that. Like, really? Anyways, post your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.